What's going on, guys? Back at it again with another Mirri build. This one I am calling the Dark Barrier, mainly because Mirri is acting in the tank role. And I must admit, I am pleasantly surprised to see how good this build actually performed out and about. To be honest, I didn't think it was going to be that great, seeing as Bastion is just a fantastic, tank. And now we have a new companion, Isabel, who also performs very, very well as a tank. So Mirri, in my opinion, I thought was going to be subpar. And to my surprise, she can actually hold up with some of the other companions out there. I'm very excited to get into this, guys. Before I do, though, I do want to say that I do have an ESO Let's Play on my Let's Play channel. If you guys are interested in that, a link to that channel is going to be in the description down below. If you guys are interested, go over there and show some love by subscribing to that channel. But enough about that. I am very excited to jump into this, guys. If you are too, do me a huge favor, drop a like on this video. Also subscribe to this channel because it does help this channel grow. So with that being said, let's jump into this. Alright, first things first, you would not be a tank unless you had a taunt. And of course, that is the #1 slot here in the bar, which is Provoke. Mirri Elendis thrusts their weapon with disciplined precision at an enemy, dealing 3,785 physical damage and taunting the enemy to attack them for 15 seconds. So, as you see, the cooldown is 12 seconds and it attacks for 15 seconds, so it's very easy to get 100% uptime with this just because of the cooldown. It's less than the total amount of taunt that it lasts, so it works out great. Now, there is a little annotation on there that says used when enemy is not already taunted, so she will not be using this ability if an enemy's already been taunted. So that's just a good little tidbit of information to know, but nothing really important there. But Provoke itself is fundamentally the most important skill in this skill line or on the bar, simply because you will not be a tank without a taunt in ESO. Moving on to the #2 slot, though, is Ghostly Evasion. So Mirri Elendis surrounds themselves in a phantasmic aura, dodging the next attack made against them, while also reducing their damage taken by 20% for 8 seconds, used when Mirri is below 75% health. So once Mirri drops down to less than 75% health, she will activate this taunt, or this ability, excuse me. This ability is fundamental for this build because it does reduce damage taken by 20% for 8 full seconds. But that's not the only thing. She also dodges the next incoming attack. So basically, whatever attack is coming towards her, it'll be null and void, almost as if it never happened, because it just won't hit her. This ability is probably, other than the taunt, is probably the best skill to have on this because of both things that it does. It's very, very crucial to this build, and I highly recommend this. #3 slot, Life Absorption. Mirri Elendis steals an enemy's life force, dealing 3,785 magic damage and healing themselves or an ally around them for 7,571 health. So this does help you out, but this is mainly for her, simply because she's the one that's going to be tanking or taking a lot of hits. She will be needing a little bit of health to keep her up, right? Keep her health up. So this does a little bit of damage. On top of that, it also heals for a moderate amount of health. And the cooldown is at 12 seconds, so it ends up working out just fine, especially with some of the other skills that we have on the bar, which we will get to in 1 second. So definitely like this skill to have on our bar. #4 slot is Ritual of Salvation. Mirri Elendis brands the earth underneath them with a rune of protection for 8 seconds. Standing within the rune reduces damage they and their allies take by 20%. If the attacker is undead, Daedra, or werewolf, the rune reduces damage taken by an additional 20%. So the second half of that, I've said this before in some of the other builds, is very circumstantial. We are not going to pay attention to that because, again, if the chances of you fighting undead, Daedra, or werewolves are, I'm not going to say low because they are a fair amount in the world, but it's not as common as you might think, especially if you're just playing the game naturally, right? So we're not gonna worry about the second half. The most important part is where it says that it reduces damage by 20%. So this reduces your damage by 20%, and this reduces your damage by 20% collaboratively if they're both on or activated. You'll be literally at 40% damage reduction, which is absolutely fantastic and imperative for the survivability of Mirri as a tank, which of course, if she's dead, she can no longer tank or taunt. So this is important. And number 5 bar is Life Siphon. Yes, we do have 2 heals because keeping her health up is extremely important while simultaneously reducing damage on Mirri. Mirri Elendis siphons the vigor from the blood of enemies nearby, dealing 3,785 magic damage and healing themselves and their allies for 3,785. So this, as you see right there, it not only heals her, it also heals you as well. So between this and this, you have a pretty substantial amount of health coming infrequently, while simultaneously reducing damage and simultaneously keeping taunt. And you guys will see that this synergy of abilities ends up working great and in Mirri's favor. But of course, we need the ultimate. Impeccable Shot. Mirri Elendis marks the enemy and exposes their weakness, causing them to take 20% more damage for 3 seconds. While the enemy is exposed, they build up to a single killing shot, unleashing a massive bolt that deals 22,712 physical damage. So not only does it do a massive amount of damage, especially for a tank at 22,712 damage, but the most important part, in my opinion, is actually the 20% damage you are able to do on top of your own normal damage. So it increases your overall damage output by 20%, and it is pretty substantial, especially if you can plan it out. It's just a fantastic ultimate in my opinion. So let's go ahead and move on to our gear. I say this in all of my videos, guys, and I'm going to continue saying it going forward, of course, including this one, but I like to emulate the way I build my own character in our companions, right? What do I mean by that? Basically, when you build your own character, you go by 2 5-piece sets and then a 2-piece monster set, right? So I like to emulate that in our companions, having 2 5-piece sets and then a 2-piece monster helm, if you will. So knowing that and keeping that in mind, I'm going to start off with the 2-piece, which is the heavy vigorous trait, because it increases max health by 2.6%, and max health is pretty nice, especially on this build, or period on tanks in general is pretty nice. I'm a firm believer in max health, so it works out great. Nothing much to say, it just increases your health by 2.6%. The second set is a 5-piece, and that will be the bolstered set. This is pretty important for this build because she will additionally, on top of her skills, she would be able to reduce damage taken by 1.7% for each piece done. And right here we have all heavy in bolstered, which each individually does 1.7 damage reduction. Last but not least is the rings and weapons, which is all vigorous. Again, I'm a firm believer in max health. What you can do though is actually do this bolstered and then just have a 2-piece vigorous and then have everything else bolstered. That will also be work great because more damage reduction is pretty nice, admittingly. but I like a little bit of extra health as well, just to have her be able to tank some of those harder hitting enemies, you know? So there goes that. Let's go ahead and check out her style. Alright guys, in terms of style, she is wearing a costume, which is the Grim Harvester costume. This is a Crown Shop item, and as a matter of fact, they actually gave it away on Twitch drops, oddly enough, which is pretty cool to see, but I already had it, so I didn't really bother with that, but it is pretty cool that they did give it away recently. But anyways, in terms of dyes, we have Falinicini Green, I can't pronounce that, sorry about that, Cold Harbor Ash Black, and Telvanni Brown. In terms of the weapon, don't mind the actual outfit itself, but the weapon I'm using Buoyant Omeger Sword and Buoyant Omeger Shield, both of them identical with the dyes, which is Cold Harbor Ash Black, Obsidian Black, and Charcoal, Sergeant's Charcoal. So I think all of this together makes Mirri look absolutely fantastic, if you ask me. Love it, the way she looks. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about her style. But with that being said, let's go ahead and see her solo, or maybe not solo. It doesn't really matter because she's a tank. As long as she survives, we're good. But let's see her take on a world boss. So there you have it, guys. That is the Mirri tank build known as the Dark Barrier. As you saw, she held up just fine, didn't struggle one bit. She kept her heals up and everything on that world boss, and frankly speaking, it worked out great. If you enjoyed this build, or if you guys are going to be using this Mirri tank build, do me a huge favor, let me know down in the comment section, because I'm legitimately curious to find out who is actually using these builds. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed it, do me a huge favor, drop a like on this video. Also subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, because it really does help this channel grow. So with that being said, catch you guys on the next one. Deuces.